hearing as required by the county. We do this annually, and I report the document that I will ask the board to approve in our meeting and then submit to the county. This is a requirement that we submit this document prior to January 20th every year. The tax budget is in essence a restatement in many ways of our five-year forecast for a calendar year versus a fiscal year for us, which runs July 1 through June 30. The document contains the revenues and expenses for the general fund, and then an added item that is not included in the five-year forecast are the bond fund and the permanent improvement fund. So it itemizes revenue and expenditures for those three funds, and it helps the county put together our tax receipts for the calendar year 2023. So it is a planning tool. We submit it a year ahead, and they use that for tax revenue collection planning. And that is the tax budget hearing. I, of course, will take questions. If not, I'll ask the board to approve it at the meeting that starts at 6:30.
All righty. So you don't need a motion now?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Good work, thank you.
to Mary Cleveland, re-elected board member. Repeat after me.
Okay.
I, Mary Cleveland,
I, Mary Cleveland,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of
as a member of
the Board of Education
the Board of Education
of the Princeton City School District,
of the Princeton City School District,
Hamilton County, Ohio,
Hamilton County, Ohio,
for the four-year term,
for the four-year term
2022 through 2025,
2022 through 2025,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance with the laws
and in accordance with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter
and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
during my continuance
during my
in
continuance
said office
in said office
and until
until
my successor is chosen
my successor is chosen
and qualified.
and qualified.
Congratulations.
Thank
Mary.
We will now call the meeting to order at 6:30. Mrs. Petter, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Cleveland,
Here.
Mrs. Moore,
Here.
Mrs. Kessler,
Here.
Mrs. Whiter,
Here.
Mr. Simons.
Present.
Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion for the approval or revision of the agenda?
Yes, there is, with an amended change to remove item 6C, approval of amended appropriation resolution and amended certificate of estimated resources. The only amended change, that's my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Can we restate the did we say C or D?
I said, let me find it. C is in car,
6C.
6C.
6C, okay. All right. Second.
Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Whiter,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland.
Yes.
Motion passes. It is now time for the inspirational message from Stewart Elementary School, Brave Enough to Be the Light.
Thank you, Mrs. Whiter. I'm going to call up our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Tanya Westwright, who's going to introduce. But earlier today, I had an opportunity to go over and read a book over at Lincoln Heights Elementary School. And I did not realize just the great parallels of Brave Enough to Be the Light and the book that I read today, and it was great. And thanks, Mrs. Roddy, for going with me on that. Such a great opportunity to get there and spend time with students. And as I felt today, you're certainly going to feel tonight. It's going to be a great presentation. Ms. Westwright.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to all of the Stewart parents, the staff, and thank you for having the Stewart Elementary students here today. It is going to be my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ramsey, and he can start coming forward. But a lot of times when I talk about these experiences and the students coming in, you can just feel the energy when the students are here, or I can feel it. And I think it goes right along with what they were saying today about you can feel the light. They are bringing the light, they are bringing the energy. So, Mr. Ramsey from Stewart Elementary, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Ramsey, and I am the proud principal here at Stewart Elementary. We're excited to be here tonight and sharing our inspirational message. This year at Stewart, as you have heard, the theme is Brave Enough to Be the Light. Tonight we will be having students read passages from the book I Am Courage. We will also having our third graders performing tonight under the direction of our music teacher, Deb Engel. They will be singing Light the Candles All Around the World. I hope you enjoy our message this evening while getting to see just how special our kids are at Stewart. Thank you.
When there are challenges in front of me, when I feel unstable, like I might fall, and I think about turning back or giving up, when my mind tells me I can't, I look inside myself and find the strength that lives deep down, and I tell my mind, yes, I can.
I have faith in what's possible. I accept the challenge and keep on going. I move ahead one breath at a time. I act with bravery. I am courage. We are the light.
I can trust what my gut is telling me. I believe in myself. I can feel scared but still carry on. I persevere. I can tumble and still get up again. I am resilient. I can lean on those around me. I'm not afraid to ask for support.
We are the light.
I can encourage others when there is doubt. I am uplifting. I can know there is no shame in sharing. I tell my story. I can step in when others are struggling. I know how to help. I can be the one to clear the way for someone else. I am an example.
We are the light. When I feel uncertain and start to lose my balance, I find my center and gather my strength. I know what I am. I am courage.
And I can keep going. We all can keep going. We are strong, we are capable, we are important, we are courage. And we are triumphant.
Wouldn't it be nice if we
I know this isn't about Stewart Elementary only, but I just want to thank all the families that took this long ride over here in the dark. We really, truly appreciate you. And the artwork tonight was presented by Miss Babel at Stewart Elementary. This is all the candle holders that she made. So thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Thank you for coming and sharing the light with us.
And thank you for the gift.
Yes. Oh, I was going to let him get out.
As they say.
And again, much appreciation. That was splendiferous. Next is recognition of visitors. Mrs. Petter, do we have any?
No visitors?
Okay. Next is School Board Recognition Month.
Thank you, Mrs. Wider. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted have proclaimed January 2022 as School Board Recognition Month. This happens year over year, and it's a great month to recognize the selfless work and to say that you are the light, and the kids, I mean, there's no question how accurate that is. We certainly appreciate the Board of Education. I wanted to read this proclamation from both Mike DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted, and know that the very first board meeting in February, we have a couple other things for you coming, but this is what this says. Whereas more than 700 boards of education oversee and manage the personnel and properties of school districts throughout Ohio. And whereas school board members are elected to establish the policies that provide the framework for their schools. And whereas school board members devote hours of their time each week to provide leadership to the local schools. And whereas school boards fill an important role in members creating and monitoring district plans to make sure students have the tools and skills to reach their full potential. And whereas school boards maintain communications with all segments of their communities to keep the public informed of district activities, and whereas school board members advocate for the best interests of the students served in their district. And whereas throughout COVID-19 pandemic, Ohio school boards have played an important role in providing safe and ongoing instruction to students. And whereas it is important that communities support school boards so that students receive the best education, are prepared to be the leaders of tomorrow. And now, therefore, let it be resolved that we, Mike DeWine and John Husted, Governor and Lieutenant Governor of the State of Ohio, do hereby recognize January as School Board Recognition Month. On this first day of January is when they signed it, 2022. So thank you to the school board for all your selfless work. And again, that first meeting in the month, in February, there'll be a couple other things coming your way. Want me to continue?
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Next is recognition of Julie C. O'Neill, WCPO reporter, OSBA Media Honor Roll.
Unfortunately, Julie could not be with us tonight, but you know, many times, and you know, you don't have to go too far back in history to realize that You know, reporters have to do a job. They have to report the facts, the truth, and they do. But somehow, how they do it sometimes just feels a little bit different, looks a little bit different. Julia's been a huge advocate for Princeton, but much more so than that, she's an advocate for reporting accurate information to the community, and she does so, and has been both on pretty difficult times at Princeton she reported on, but did it with class and dignity. And she's also done so much great reporting on wonderful things at Princeton, and again, did it with dignity and class. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but we will get her the certificate from the Board of Education. And I know when Tricia Roddy had called her to tell her that she was going to be recognized, I know she feels badly not being able to be here, but certainly she's very excited to be a Viking in media. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the recognition of Joe Roberts, Athletic Director of the Year.
Okay, I do not see Joe here. He's here? Okay, in the back. Okay, very good. Joe coming up here. Joe's being recognized Athletic Southwest Ohio Athletic Director of the Year. Joe serves selflessly, and quite frankly, when Joe and I met a couple different times before he actually accepted the job, you could tell there was something special about Joe Roberts. He not only is a tireless worker, but advocate for students. And in fact, in the back on Saturday, Joe and I were watching the girls' bowling team play, and it was the first, Joe, it's called the Baker's Knockout, right? Yeah, Baker's Knockout. Baker's Knockout. So kids take turns bowling. So you bowl one, and then regardless of what you do, the next person comes up. So if you leave the 7-10, the next person has to come up and try to pick up the 7-10. And they rotate through 5 bowlers. And it got to the very last frame, and we had to have a strike. Anything less than that would not have worked. And the enthusiasm that Joe had at that moment for bowling, and when you think about that, whether it's bowling, tennis, football, basketball, swimming, cross country, track, you name it, Joe supports this district and the region, and also with the state, because he serves on the state board tirelessly and does such a great job. Joe is also a National Interscholastic Athletic Administrator Association certified athletic administrator. It's not easy to get. Not a lot of people have that. And I will tell you that I mentioned Saturday, but Saturday we had swimming, bowling, basketball, girls basketball, Little Vikes basketball, and on the same stage, OMEA practice for a concert. And Joe was at all of them because that's who Joe is. And I will tell you that not all athletic directors do that. So Joe, this honor was, in my opinion, long overdue, but congratulations again for being Athletic Director of the Year. Joe Roberts, everybody.
Congratulations again. Next is, and I hope I say this correctly, recognition of Ashwin Iranian Rabu Kumar, chess player.
As Ashwin, yeah, let's give him a big round of applause. Ashwin. Thank you. So Ashwin, do you remember when he came to class? So we came to class, and it was so exciting to recognize Ashwin for being 7th in the entire country in chess. Wow. How about that? That's amazing. So Ashwin was playing our head chess coach, Mr. Arnold Franklin, who was honored as Coach of the Year here not too long ago. Ashwin, is he a pretty good player? He was? Do you think you would have got him? Okay, you said you would have got him. Okay, you know what? It's so funny, Ashwin. When we talked, this is what I wrote down because I remember. Do you remember when people ask you, how did you get so good? Do you remember what you said? You practiced. Now, you practice a little bit or a lot? You practice likes a lot. So, in chess, when you were talking, you talk about learning from your mistakes. You don't want to make the same mistake again, right? You try to learn, think ahead, focus, and when it's all done, you want to be a good sport, right? Is that not what we should all be doing? Thinking ahead, learning from our mistakes, being a good sport. Just amazing. And practicing all the time. So what's your goal, Ashwin? Here, speak in this way.
To reduce my mistakes and rank better.
And what rank do you want to reach?
First.
So, Ashwin, we have this nice little certificate here, and it says for being named #1 chess player in the state of Ohio and #7 in the entire country. Let's give Ashwin a big round of applause. Board of Education, come on out. Come on, Chris. Soon to be national champion, okay.
And again, congratulations. Next, we have the recognition of Declan McGrath, Eagle Scout.
Thank you very much. Declan unfortunately could not be here, and I know we tried to get this recognition in December, but not surprisingly, Declan's a busy young man. I did want to then just take a little bit of time to recognize Declan, because most Eagle Scouts, if you know much about scouting at all, typically 11th grade, but probably 12th grade year. And not surprising, in fact, Mr. Fricky and I were just working with a soon-to-be Eagle Scout, just finished the project, and you have to do it before the senior year, or 18th year, of a scout's life, and you have about 3 months afterwards. They give you a little bit of leeway. And so it's actually over break that we ended up trying to help and finish an Eagle Scout project. But Declan did it in his 9th grade year. That's absolutely amazing. He actually is the youngest Eagle Scout I've ever heard of. And maybe not all across, but I've never seen another younger Eagle Scout in the district where I came from. Had a lot of Eagle Scouts, and we've had a lot of Eagle Scouts. So congratulations to Declan. This is something for those that don't know. It's the highest achievement or rank attainable in Scouts BSA program of Boy Scouts of America. It's a huge honor that's since 1911, actually 1912 was when the first Eagle Scout ever received their award. Only 8% of scouts received this. It's very difficult to get. They have to get 21 merit badges, including this big culminating project. And so hopefully Declan, wherever he is, I know he's probably working, studying, doing all kinds of other things, but hopefully he'll be able to come back at a later point and share what he did, because it was something special. Thank you.
The next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move that we accept and approve the consent agenda as listed.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is the approval of the 2022 tax budget.
Make a motion that upon the recommendation of the treasurer, I approve the 2022 tax budget as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Thank you for attending the tax budget hearing tonight. Again, this is, I hate to use the word formality, but this is a requirement that we have to do annually prior to January 20th and submit it to Hamilton County. And again, we're restating numbers from our forecast and then adding bond and permanent improvement funds, and it's all those funds that touch tax dollars. So we're telling them what we're going to spend, which defends what we're asking for.
Okay. Next is the approval of the December 2021 financial and investment report.
Can we have the vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Now, the approval of the 2021 financial and investment report. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the December 2021 financial and investment report.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Of course, I just have a couple comments as usual. So this is the December 2021 report. We are halfway through our fiscal year, and is that just mind-numbing? I mean, time is flying. And this monthly report, which you have attached in your board minutes, actually captures everything we did in the November forecast. So the numbers look really, really good. They're matching up with our projections. When you're dealing with $80+ million in general fund budget, we're not going to worry about a month we've got $100,000 off here or there. It's typically timing, or if it's not timing, then I'll notify you what that change is. But the first half in revenue, we are $639,000 ahead in tax dollars as compared to last first half in 21 or in 20. So that is really good news. So we're collecting a little more tax revenue. The caution I have, which is not in our forecast since we did not find out about this until early December, was that PUP change in our public utility. And that is something Tom Burton is probably going to use many times over the next couple of days when he's talking to people. And, that's a change that was made to our tax revenue, and we don't have any opportunity to defend it. So the public utility works a little bit different than the Board of Revisions that run through the county, and that's what we're fighting for against this House bill that's in play right now. This is an example that is great to use because this was a change in tax collection. We are not allowed to have any details on it, which is the part that frustrates me. So I've, of course, gone to the county. I went to our attorney, and he said, yes, we've seen this before. And literally, they can tell me at the state level that it was filed and it's correct. And that's all we get to know. So it's going to be a loss to us about $700,000 over a year. So we'll see that first half cut in this next half in 2022. But other than that, our revenues are still projected to hold pretty good, but that is something we didn't know about in November. We don't get those numbers until December. So the consultant we use to help with forecasting, that they've written this tool, that was a phone call to me from him. So, you know, because it was just such a shock. So we will adjust. Hopefully we can use it to fight the fight that's coming our way as a reason to allow school districts and other public entities a seat at the table when these changes are being made. State funding, you'll see on here also, is a slight decrease. That's because of the new funding formula taking place. So we're getting money for every student that we are educating in our building. So that's a big change, because we used to get money for kids who were educated elsewhere. Remember, they'd give us our 1,000 and they'd take 6,000 away. So that's history now. So we're getting a little less revenue, but we're also not losing that tuition going out the door. So revenue's going to be a little lower and expenses going to be a little bit lower. We are going to get our first settlement from the state this Friday that actually is using the new funding formula. So all the treasurers are very excited to see that first one and see if it matches up to the estimates that we've received, that we've had for the whole first half of the year. Remember, the state put that in place July 1, but they didn't have the programming behind and the system's ready to adjust to that new formula. First time will be this Friday. Expenses are really right on track as anticipated. Again, we expect to see this little dip in expense when it comes to tuition, and those were students that were resident students but being educated elsewhere last year. So I have the grant, ESSER grant report, CARES grant, CRF grant report for you too. There are 3 of the grants that I did report last time that are complete. I'll report those through the end of 21, take those numbers off moving forward. It'll give us a less cluttered graphic to look at. And so we are down to CARES, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. So, and we are nearly halfway spent on ESSER 2, which is good. We're using the money that we've been given. So that's the COVID, or the ESSER fund report. The other documents are the investment statements and the reconciliation, and those are all in fine shape also.
I'd like to add just one thing very quickly. I want to be abundantly clear on this. We understand that mistakes happen in life. We understand that. We know that we're not perfect, and man, we work really, really hard to make sure we don't make mistakes. But if we behaved as a school district like the state has behaved in terms of when they're going to give us our money, when they're going to start using the formula, how they're going to communicate that, the amount of mistakes, they would pull our charter, they would do whatever they needed to do so we could never educate a kid. It is so terrible. Ms. Petter, can you talk about when we got our ESSER funds that we were supposed to get like a year ago? Didn't we just get that?
So the state, the money is available. The state did not appropriate. You know how you approve an appropriation. They did not appropriate the money, so we have been backed up on receiving our funds from them because we have to spend the money first, and then we ask for reimbursement on all these grants. So we had 2 months in arrears where we hadn't received our money from them. They have done the appropriation last week.
Yeah, it was last week. So my point is this, that, listen, we understand that. We just want the same latitude that, you know, when there's something that happens here and not get 42 different emails and letters and certified letters acting as if we did everything wrong when little mistakes, little small mistakes were made, like not having a page number at the right place was cause for a letter, not making sure that, Dr. Phillips, when did we reconcile that one case? That was from 2000 what? 2009, and we're spending time and effort to reconcile something from 2009. So I'm just saying, I just want to state, and I don't know if anyone's going to send this to anybody that matters, but just understand that we're going to treat you with grace and dignity and make sure that, we're not going to be too hard on you, but we just expect the same thing, because we will never make mistakes like you have made in the last year. We won't do that. Just treat us with grace, please. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. You mentioned the loss of the 700,000 over a year. How does that compare to other school districts, or are we the only ones experiencing that?
I asked that question because it was Duke within Princeton City School District. I said, Duke's all around us. We were the only district that was impacted at this level. And, we don't have a power plant in our district or anything like that. And again, I am not allowed to know the details of the reduction.
Okay,
It's-
thank you.
What about our liaison from a state rep or state senate standpoint? Could they potentially find out?
I don't know. I did ask the board attorney, and he said, oh, yeah, there were several other districts that experienced this several years ago. And, of course, they went to the MAT. They did a public records request, which was denied because the information was protected by privacy because it was Duke's.
Our
Are we gonna do public records request?
Our representative and our senator both know phone
yeah,
calls were
Tom.
placed to both of them. This is yet another example of us not we don't even, like Chris said, we don't even get the opportunity to even challenge to do anything. $795,000 gone.
Yeah.
House Bill 126, which I'll talk about later, taking away the right for us to defend taxpayer dollars. This is about every single taxpayer. And when I go into details, I hope whatever taxpayers are watching this, I hope you send it to every taxpayer, because this is insane to even think about them doing. But yet, this is another example of what happens. So TPPT, gone. Not funding every single one of our beautiful students, gone. They're not even talking about some of the funding in that. So when we fight, when we talk about this, when we ask people to call their representatives, when we ask people to advocate, this is the critical nature of what we need to do.
So we're gonna pursue it in some form or fashion.
We are pursuing what we can.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for doing that. And I'm sorry, do we need to vote on that
Yep.
one? Okay, we could call the roll.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes,
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Weider.
Yes. Next is, and I hope I'm in the right place because I was writing notes too, approval of amended appropriation resolution and amended certificate of estimated resources.
And that was the item.
remove that.
Okay,
Which-
thank you, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Next is approval of agreement with Youth Truth on district surveys. Is there a motion?
I didn't see that on the agenda. I see it in my board packet.
I have it on here, letter D.
Okay, D, I see it now. Yes. I move that we approve the agreement with Youth Truth for district surveys.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes,
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Weider,
Yes.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next is approval of service agreement with Hamilton County ESC for technology integration support for AV and PBL for the Innovation Center. Is there a motion?
Move for approval of the service agreement with Hamilton County ESC for technology integration support for AV and PBL for the Innovation Center.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Weider?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next is the approval of contract with Western Nursing Services. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the contract with Western Nursing Services as presented.
Second. Mrs. Petter?
Susan, were you the second?
I seconded.
Okay. Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Weider?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next is the discussion section, and the first thing to discuss is the first reading of the 2022-2023 Polaris editions at Princeton High School. Is there any discussion? Mr. Burton, did you want to say anything?
We just, these are just standard additions. You'll see those delineated in the Polaris book. In fact, all the next deletions, additions, and modifications are all in here.
Okay.
I'd be willing to answer any questions that you may have after you guys look through the.
They look largely for math and science, but I wasn't sure what ASL is.
American Sign Language.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good question, Gina. So any other questions or comments?
Yes, the only question I have thus far is the NCAA approved course and why they aren't all approved by the NCAA.
The what?
The NCAA approved course that's open to students 9th through 12th. And aren't all our classes NCAA approved?
No, there's only, you have to go through the clearinghouse, there's only so many classes. Like, that's a minimalistic way of looking at it.
Yes.
We offer so much for so many students.
Yes.
Some of those would not qualify for NCAA. So you look at it like this, like our core requirements for graduation in the state of Ohio, we have 20 credits that must be earned, and you can only earn those in certain areas, so for math, for English, etc.
Yes.
The same holds true for NCAA.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, we can move on to the treasurer's report.
I just have one item for the board, and that's just, I sent you my little treasure top 5 today, but we did move the audit deadline back until January 31st. Our auditors also are having some issues getting the information they need in order to audit the ESSER funds. So they received their information, it was well after December 1st, with the deadline of being December 31st, and throwing in holidays, and they had scheduled training for their CPA scheduled the last week of December. So I talked with the owner of the company, Milhoff Stang, and she and I decided that we would ask for the extension from the state until January 31st so we could spend time going through the ESSER documentation. This is the first ESSER grant that they will be auditing. We know we have, and this is the little one, so we know the next two are much larger in dollar amount, and we all decided we would take our time. They would read. They've had to go back to the state and ask questions about what was their intent in some of the things they've been doing. So we believe we had a good week this week. Hopefully they'll do their final review and we'll move forward on this. Everything else is complete in the audit. It is just the ESSER 1 fund that we are reviewing at this time. They They take several of the federal programs, so we reach the threshold in IDEA, Title I, and food services, the food service program. This year, the only one they looked at was the ESSER 1 fund, and it's brand new, so it's the first time anyone's auditing it. So that's what we all decided to do, and we're pretty pleased because the data pool was extensive.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Petter?
I have one.
Okay.
I know we usually do the private audit, and then there's the audit from the state of Ohio. Have we done the Ohio audit? Is that being held up as well?
So this is our third year with an independent CPA. Prior to that, we're directly audited by members of the auditor, the state staff. After a certain period of time, they often ask, will you allow us to send you out for bid? They can't do all the school districts and local governments. They don't have the staffing for that. So they put our contract out for bid, and we have Milhoff staying for 5 years. And then there is an option to extend for 5 years. So if the state's happy with their work, they will ask if we want to extend. And so they audit, they complete the audit with their company, and then they have to submit it to the state for the state to review their work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
And that's all I have.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just a special thank you to all the people that helped with the state of the schools, and especially Tricia Roddy, who spent countless hours to making sure that the presentation was as great as it was. She did a great job. So did the whole team, administrative team. You know, I've said this before. I will always maintain this. Our administrative team here is second to none. I'm telling you, the diligence, the passion, and one of the things I like most is the fact that we're not afraid to kind of dissent with each other, and we do so in a very professional manner. And you don't always see that all the time. And tomorrow I'll be in Columbus doing a keynote, a building culture keynote specifically at a conference for Ohio elementary school administrators. And, you know, one of the big things I'll be talking about is specifically the team who you surround yourself with is really important. And they do such an amazing job, and they give and they give and they give. And that's something that's really, really important. And you know, anytime I do go out and there's any type of speaking, depending upon the situation, they oftentimes give an honorarium. I never take that personally. I always have that go directly to the school. And so we'll receive a check. Ms. Petter, I'll make sure I bring that to you tomorrow about 11:35 when I get back.
Make sure we deposit it.
Yes, thanks. So again, Tricia and the whole gang, thanks so much for the help with State of Schools. Chris did mention about House Bill 126 without saying that, but just very quickly again, the school district collects X amount of dollars from taxpayers every single year. So let's say a business gets sold and it's worth $1 million and they sell it for $7 million. Now, we would see that in the paper. Our lawyer would say, wait a second, we better get that $6 million differential because the valuation of that business should be $7 million. They should be paying tax on $7 million, not $1 million. If House Bill 126 goes in as written currently, we would never be able to challenge that, ever. Now, the people who I talk to, and you can imagine, I've talked to a lot of representatives and senators, is this. They say, but Tom, on the reevaluation, they're going to probably catch that. And I said, you literally use probably to me? I mean, that's ridiculous. So that is huge issue. And here's
6 years.
Yes, exactly.
Reevaluations once every 6 years.
So sometimes we get it at the biennium, but we don't always get that though. That's for sure. But the biggest thing too is, and here's something to know: if a business goes and fights to have their valuation reduced, in that year, if they win, if we can't fight it, or they put so many roadblocks in place that we have to pass all these resolutions and so forth, and we can't fight it. We lose that money for 1 year, and say the differential is $50,000 in collected taxes. So you lose that. But you know what happens the next year, taxpayers, listen to me, the next year, you pay. You make up the difference, because we can't fight against people, and I'm not saying all businesses are like that. We have great businesses in our district, we have great relationships, but every once in a while, people try to make sure they save money, even if it hurts other people. Taxpayers always make up the difference. So somebody asked me a long time ago, Tom, how come my taxes get raised and I didn't vote on anything? That's taxation without representation. Agree. Call your representative tomorrow. And in fact, Tricia, can we please make sure we get a list of all the representatives in the entire state of Ohio, all their contact information, front and center, please call regarding House Bill 126. And we'll Chris, we have that little write-up, so we could put that right on there as well. We need to contact our representatives. And that goes for all the staff who may be listening to, who may not be living in one of our great communities. Call your representatives. It's going to make a difference. If we get it back to committee, I believe it's going to be something that's going to make much more sense than this. And then lastly, and probably something that everybody thought I would probably lead with, the mask and COVID situation in Princeton. I could not be more proud. And I know I take my mask off. We're socially distanced. I understand I do that. And so for the people who are going to say I didn't follow the mask mandate, I understand. But I want you to hear me clearly, and you don't always hear that when my mask is on. So I apologize for that, but it is what it is. I want you to hear what I'm saying. Our staff and students are second to none. Going around today, when we were walking around in Lincoln Heights Elementary School or walking around the high school, our kids and staff understand the importance. There was a young man that was walking down the hallway that was like that today. I looked at him and I said, hey, thanks a lot. And I just kind of motioned like that. He was, oh, my pleasure, and did it and walked on. I mean, our kids are amazing with what they're doing.
Like the way Mr. Simons is wearing his mask now?
Well, this is what we're going to do. I'm saying this, that when we look at our students and staff and following through with stuff, they do an amazing, amazing job. Now, as we move forward, and I've received more emails and phone calls in the last 8 days about mask mandate, COVID issues, quarantine and so forth, than I have the entire time combined, just in a short period of time. So understand that we know that we have to do everything we can to keep our kids safe, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. This spread did not happen because of school. So to take the kids from an environment where the spread is, by and large, they know that the spread's going to happen. But when you look at the amount of emails that our parents have received, and that was one of the concerns that several of our parents had. I keep getting all these emails or whatever. We are doing that. I found out many districts aren't doing that, but we are going to follow what we're supposed to do. So we send them out. That's what we do. So parents like, look at all these issues. We have all this stuff we shouldn't be in. Well, we'd be taking kids from a safe environment. By and large, you know, there's going to be some spread, but by and large, the safest environment you could be in. Everybody says that. We're getting no recommendation to go remote from any healthcare professional in terms of the ones that we talk to, which are the city of Springdale, Hamilton County, state of Ohio. That's what we're doing. And Dr. Fagans, who I'm on a phone call every single Friday with him, he is on Governor DeWine's medical task force saying the same thing. Now, if there's one person that has a serious issue, it's one too many. That's just reality. 90% of the people that are currently hospitalized are unvaccinated. Now, that's your choice. You do what you want. But we're going to set up another vaccination clinic here, which will be Dr. Phillips, like our 14th. So we have really tried to encourage people to come and do that, to get vaccinated. But 90%, direct quote, 90% of those hospitalized are unvaccinated. 100% of the people in ICU are unvaccinated with underlying health conditions. So again, whether you believe in the vaccination or not, that's your choice. But we do know this, that our kids need to be in school. We are following protocols. We're doing everything that we possibly can to keep our kids are very safe. Now, in the state of schools I started, and I said specifically, I went through and gave guidance. So for the parents who are looking and have questions about quarantining, what happens if my child is around somebody who has COVID, what do we do? The number one safeguard to keep kids in school is wearing masks. That's just it. So if Chris Petter right now, if she, unfortunately not to say this, but if she had COVID, we are socially distant, we're fine. But if I was right next to her and we were both wearing masks the whole time and she had COVID, I would not have to quarantine. So for more information, if you go to our website and look for State of the Schools, you'll see the very, very beginning of that. You'll see that information. And then lastly, to the Board of Education, know that there's a lot of information in the next couple weeks that you're going to receive about the STEAM Institute, or whatever we're going to name it. And when you get that information, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be, to coin Chris Lockhart's technology phrase, a little nerdy to get through, but there's going to be a lot of information. It's going to be about the design. It's going to talk about spacing, room quality, what we're doing with fiber, with electrical, what are we going to do with these collaborative stairs, walking up. You'll see things like hologram technology, virtual reality. You're going to see a lot. And this is something that if people are thinking about going someplace other than Princeton, you live in Princeton, before you make that decision, look to see what's coming down the pike. Before you make that decision, look at our Polaris and see all the unbelievable courses that we offer. Before you make that decision, you know where you are right now? Top music program in the state, maybe the country. Right here, this is what happens on this stage. Check out our music program. Check out our athletic program. Check out our clubs. Understand the philosophy that we have, that the Board of Education has. It's about personalization at the highest level. You don't get that everywhere. So, to the board, again, you're going to get a lot of information in a short period of time. There's been no decisions that have been made in terms of names. You know, we talk in generalities about some, but the reality is we have a lot of work to do before we go. It's actually not even official yet. They haven't closed. But I love the fact that we're moving, and we have to move quickly. You will get information on site visits that we will be doing. You'll get information, final reports about some site visits. Mr. Sendre and I went through a document. Mr. Sendre, it was about 100 pages, that journal. So about 100 pages, tons of pictures, tons of great information. And we have about 20 to 30 Post-it notes in there just to kind of generate and stimulate some ideas. But again, 120,000, minimum of 120,000 square feet given to Princeton. It's going to be built out, given to Princeton. A lot of the hardware is going to be given to Princeton. Fiber, electrical, given to Princeton. So that's a huge gift, and at some point, you know, we'll get a hard number on it. But when they were talking about 80,000 square feet, when they were talking about giving us that, the one developer said, that's like a $15 million gift. And so we're 120, and they weren't even going to build out the whole thing then. So when you look at square footage and everything they're doing, they're really, really major for us. And I just appreciate the Board of Education for being willing to take a risk, to take a chance, and do this. And we're going to do it right, and it will not be state of the art. I guarantee you that. Whatever is in front of that, that's what we will be. Thank you, that's all.
Okay. So the next thing on here is executive session. Is that something we need? Tom raised his hand.
Yes.
Okay. Then I move, we move into executive session to discuss under sections 121.22G1 to consider the appointment of a public employee and 2 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Weider?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland? Mrs. Moore? Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Jameson and Dr. Phillips to join me, please.